Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to another exciting match in the Blue Moon waxing phase of this Highway to the Zemus Zone 5 tournament. We have a couple of fantastic runners, one of which, Tournament Live, will be over after tonight. Gambit017 versus Locke. My name's Vitasia, and I'm joined tonight by Deathlike. How are we doing tonight, man?
Doing well. Seeing surprise. All blarg. No, that's it'd be a nice setting, but no, that's not what we have tonight. Another Blue Moon match. So we're gonna have our wonderful constant football gauntlet in Golbez today. I think highlighting the fun of this seed. How about both leg, Rubicon elements. So get your ice brands and blizzards available. We'll have some fun taking down those two.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think we were talking about, especially beforehand with these boss objectives, no lunar sparkles required. So if you see a sparkle, you can dodge it. No need to do anything on the side to do those checks. They are completely dodgeable at this point in time, so no need to even check those. But this is kind of an interesting set because, you have Dark Imps, which is kind of free depending on where it's at. Dark Elf, that can be free, but nothing is like absolute, like no water hags or guard bosses or anything. Nothing that is just almost free no matter where it's at. So this might be an interesting set of challenges for our runners.
Yeah, we have a Sid start, a certain decent tank, though probably won't be able to do damage on Val in certain spots, so we'll probably need a little bit of help. Sid will can serve as an anchor if needed, and be also tanky if surprise DKC at some nasty spots show up. So Sid is certainly a viable character at any time and can be used in multiple roles. So there is that. So there's safety in having big HP pools.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find my decisions with Sid always depend on kind of, do I find a decent weapon for him in my first, like, 15 or so treasure chest checks, in the early game? If I find a solid hammer or a good axe, I'm like, well, I'm more likely to keep him. If not, and all he's good for is, like, preparing your anchor for the middle spot, there's a lot of other characters that end up being able to perform that role and having some other utility associated with that. Tella, Rydia certainly fits the bill there as well. So, really, we're going to, whether or not we keep this Sid, I think is going to be dependent on the treasures we find and what the rest of the character pool looks like.
Yeah, we'll definitely not be able to find Fu because it has to be Fu starts or Fu is not in the seed. Simple as that. But any other character, especially if you don't pick up a character like if Kane or Cecil doesn't show up in the seed, then Sid can be your tank character as much as when with all that heavy equipment, and you can do some fun tricks with. But hey, vanilla Kane and Sparkle that we don't care, but a package that is probably worth checking early this game.
It might be worth checking if that's going to be something that I think both of our runners might put off for a little bit. But if one of the runners starts to feel behind, I think that's kind of a cheeky check to make at that point in time. It certainly has won some games already in some races in this tournament so far, so worth checking out maybe if you're feeling behind, but I don't know if I'd invest any time into it until that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more for, hey, check it early when you have it early, or check it late when it's just one boss a boss objective to go. You don't want to rely on it. It is a gamble. So, and seeing Gambit there, hey, it can be a gamble, and we have solved our white mage and our black mage problem, at least for now.
Yep, Mysidia showing us both the best white mage in Rosa and the third best white mage in Rydia.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see who our other characters are. Rydia needs a little bit of help to get started. Certainly the early Mount Hom summons. Did I just see a tiara? So that should be a good booster. Rosa, best white mage, although may need some help. May need to visit Zot to get her fully online, as there will be times where you will need that exit, and could it can be a really long walk up and down the LST if that ever comes to be.
Oh, over on Gambit side, I just saw a Dragoon Lance. That Cane is online and is fully capable of carrying this party quite a ways now. And that is also the man, the myth, the legend, Cecil, immediately available in that waterfall cavern as well. I tell you what, Cecil in Blue Moon Flags in particular is a character that changes the course of everything you do in Blue Moon Flags. If you can manage to nag a really nice holy weapon like an Excal or a Crystal Sword, it changes everything about your game planning, about how you set up your party, how you plan on leveling, and how you plan on getting through bosses as well. So really nice to see him there. I did think I saw a lightsaber already on Gambit side as well, so we're not entirely empty right out of the gate.
Yeah, certainly when you get a Cecil online, the seed becomes at least a teensy bit easier. Cover strats being a thing, even if you don't get the ideal weapons for Cecil. I mean, worst case, he's Kane. That's not the worst thing. And Locke is found in Spoonward, but we have no Spoon quite yet. So we'll see. Right now, Edward probably not long for this world until a Spoon shows up, and maybe we'll find that at Troya. I don't think our runners have visited Troya quite yet.
No, it's kind of been interesting to watch the early game routing evolve through this Blue Moon phase, because it used to be very early. Oh, well, pardon me, we have an early comedian showing up in the Watery Pass. We are going to put that on hold though, but we have found our Golbez. It is in the Watery Pass. That will be coming a little bit later. What I was saying though is the early game routing has been really fun to watch kind of evolve as this tournament goes on. Different runners have different strategies. Do you put off going to Troya so you can route maybe some other checks in associated with it? Where do you get your efficiencies in picking up your characters? No, I would say true meta has evolved quite yet. Everyone's doing things a little bit differently. And it's really been interesting to see different players with different flavors and different priorities as they're going through the seed.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. A lot depends on who you start with. Sometimes, like if you get Tella, you'll do some stuff with Exit. Hey, Ninja, that I think we can go full Berserker if we really wanted to. That's a lot, plenty of options on the table. Maybe right now, probably not so spellcaster heavy, as it's only just Rosa and Radia. We have not seen who's on Mount Ordeals yet, but that's to be expected. So, routing early, it really depends on who you start with. So Tella, even at Edge, where you want to, sometimes see runners solo with Edge, like we pick up the Edge, but we're Undersea naked, so he won't have his second weapon, so you're gonna have to start looking for weapons, and those are details that will change whether a character stays or goes.
Meanwhile, we see Locke on the other side doing some looting. Found a great edge weapon. I saw a longsword there in the Pauper's treasury in Troya. And there is our hook. It is the only way to get into the underworld. In this particular flag set, we guarantee that your access is going through the hook route. So nice to see that there. Not necessarily something you want to see early. You want maybe that to be buried a little bit. But here we are. Gambit, meanwhile, finds an interesting pickup in the Dwarf Axe there on Mount Ordeals, in the chest that a lot of runners end up skipping.
Yeah, I mean, full clearing Mount Ordeals is kind of a thing, but skipping it, it's kind of out. That chest is kind of out of the way, so I can understand it. But Dwarf Axe, one of the only sources of back row back row weaponry that Kane can equip. So be easy to glitch Cecil once he becomes Paladin, and Kane at any time, and certainly Sid if he's still around.
Meanwhile, we certainly have some interesting setups here. Of course, Dragoon Lance with the Dwarf Axe back road on Kane. Yeah, this is looking like a Zerker party. And by the way, this is a fantastic Zerker party at that. We have effectively the endgame party. Rosa, Rydia, Cecil, Edge, Kane. So all the best gear is kind of designed for this party anyway. Let's roll.
Is it vanilla? Well, Atline is on the Mylon and Friends spot, so that shouldn't be too bad. That I'm half expecting our cute Atline kind of taking the moon journey, but today in this seed, not so much, and it shouldn't be too long. As long as you don't directly punch Atline, you won't get countered. And looks like today, for Gambit, Rydia is the anchor.
Yep, that absolutely makes the most sense to me as well. That's going to be her primary function. We're going to want to get everyone to RA1 as best we can. In the overworld, and this is kind of a hard lesson, when we haven't gone underground yet, really you probably want to have your Edge in your middle slot. You want him to be able to go as fast as he can, because otherwise things can sneak up on you. Gambit looking like he might be doing a quick reset here. Locke now cleaning out the Damsian treasury.
Yeah, it has from early routing, when you're gonna have to get the hook here anyways, and you might need some low tier, maybe some J items. The Damsian basement is a good side spot to pick up, and it's pretty dense when you're doing the looting. So a little probably better than say the Fabul spot, where there is a free treasury on like the left tower, but that's not as dense as Damsian. So, which is kind of why you're seeing runners do Damsian basement raids.
Absolutely. And here's the real balance that comes in. How much looting is too much looting? We've seen Locke do quite a bit of looting up to this point in time. Certainly has better equipment than Gambit, as he went up the moon, has a longsword, a bandana. But is it so much strength that he will make up the time he spent looting, just in combat? I don't know about that yet, so it'll be interesting to see how this race plays out.
I almost think that like one of a popular Eblin Castle trip is warranted. If you don't find an Excal or a crystal, you've kind of not reached the point of not needing of needing more treasure. Like oftentimes, especially with the looting, you will certainly get quite a bit of lucrative items, but not the ones that will get you kind of in and towards closer towards power overwhelming. So oftentimes that you might with all the treasure you looted, you can definitely fund sirens or Bacchus ones, things that you'll probably need, especially with the party we've given. Berserker heavy party needs all the Bacchus wine it can get. So, and hey, it's a CPU. Looks like that's probably the Mount Ordeal's crystal room.
Yeah, it looks like we blasted through ordeals. Didn't even get to see what that lunar sparkle was, but guess what? It wasn't a required boss. So,
That was a quick nope. I think that was some version of Mylon on Mount Hobbs. Still worth checking, even though there's no character. You still have to do boss checks. I mean, there are just some checks that are not as good. Like when there are no free characters sometimes. So there's free character. Well, free, not necessarily free. It's more like slightly gated, just not. So it's a thing.
Yeah. So Gambit completing Mount Ordeal's sub 12 minutes. That is a really good time. You can tell that Gambit has certainly prioritized doing that before doing a lot of the other checks that are out there. It'll be interesting to see. Looks like he's making a dash up towards Fabul. This is kind of standard at this point in time. You certainly want to be able to equip Cecil with some decent gear up to this point in time. You want this is something that's emerged kind of out of this tournament anyway. When Cecil gets to be level 1, there's the point in time where if you have a full party and the average party level is 5 or more levels higher than a character level, they get double experience. So if for whatever fight that ends up happening, um, typically you can only have one, maybe two characters at most get that double experience boost. A lot of characters do it when you do the D machine grind immediately after, if you have that available for a full slingshot to really ramp up the experience. But just as important is this period of time right after Cecil converts, because he gets over to level 1 as a paladin while the rest of the party is already at 15, 16 by this point in time, so you can get some decent experience on Cecil. I don't know if having another level 1 Rydia pulls down the average enough that this won't happen, though.
I thought it was the median, the middle level. So tip and tip. I think with a kind of a stock Rosa and a stock Kane, they both level 10. That should be more than enough. But hey, there's a pen, so we probably can Locke has the option of fading for Wool. So that's if that is the decision. You never know what he could be for Wool, like maybe Darkness Crystal that has happened before, but I don't. We'll find out what that result is soon enough, though. I think it's Gambit doing Mom Bomb right now.
Yeah, and Commander Leonhardt in chat is correcting me. Thank you. It is the median, not the average. My fault. Thank you, Commander, for correcting me. Commander on tracking duty tonight. Thank you again. And thank you again while we're working through this Mom Bomb. Also to not only our tracker commander, but our restreamer, X Pancras. Folks behind the scenes doing all the work, making us look good.
Keeping track and restreaming, those are certainly tasks. Got to be very mindful. It is a lot of work behind the scenes, so can't underestimate the work done to get prepared for all of this. Looks like Gambit's completed Mom Bomb. That wasn't too bad. Got using Edge's magic, good enough. It's kind of like a J item, but costs some magic, and hey, half a forge that. So for now, it's only good for a key item. Probably not going to be used at all otherwise.
Meanwhile, there was that tiara. Is a absolutely fantastic item, really, for any of the women in the game. Great defensive item, but of particular importance, it does increase that black magic attack stat. So it is primarily designed for Rydia. Very nice to see that equipment, although we may not do much with it.
I think even if we're not using Rydia, you have two main. It's designed specifically for like essentially one monster, the King Ryu's late game grind. As some of you may have seen previously, that they cast they do lightning damage, and they are dragons. Both things, which a lot of the late game us, even the egg grind. That dragon does lightning, is a dragon. So, two things that you always kind of need some protection against. And Tiara, top tier defensive equipment for the women.
Meanwhile, Locke is on his D-Lunars fight while Gambit is finishing off Antlion. Good to see these two go. Kane is going to be doing a whole lot of work here. If he has that Dragoon Lance equipped, should be doing a ton of damage to these D-Lunars.
Yeah, I mean, well, Dragoon Spear isn't like fancy, but it does a lot of work. A lot of bosses in the pool are dragons, and you know, while he doesn't while the weapon isn't like the strongest, it's like kind of average if you're not using the dragons. Um, for the utility it has, it's kind of it might be kind of arguably better than say Artemis arrows plus whatever bow you put, because it doesn't consume ammo, and it's always on. Just use it and go. It it's I mean, I would consider it the strongest spear, even if it's not statistically the strongest. But you find yourself fighting a lot of dragons, and the utility kind of grows exponentially as you have Kain in your party.
Well, and you mentioned the utility. I mean, it's a perfectly fine and viable end game weapon. So I mean, it's the defense sword, white lance, and then the the dragoon lance. Honestly, in terms of power for Kain, so it's perfectly viable towards the end game. But as you mentioned, things like with the King Ryu grind or the egg grind, anything that's a dragon that's a grind, uh, put Kain in your RA1, like your first attack spot, and let him go burn. Like your grind becomes very, very fast at that point in time.
Yeah, looks like Locke has completed the CPU fight. That wasn't too bad. I mean, Leviathan is overkill, but CPU is always a slog battle in most instances. This is not a slog battle because Spot has I think 1,000 HP, so split amongst those three targets. So not much HP to go, and Leviathan kind of washes them away, which is a nice thing to see.
That will be interesting to see as this seed plays on. We see Gambit has kept his Rydia down on the ground, trying to keep that anchor at a low level to control the party tempo at this point in time. Locke, less concerned with anchoring and the agility setup because Leviathan tends to sweep everything, especially early to mid game. So it'll be interesting to see how these strategies will make a difference as the seed continues to move on. Meanwhile, we'll see. Locke has, I think, the only places that are really left are going to be in Baron, and then we'll see if either of our runners end up deciding to check Fabul Castle, or, I'm sorry, Eblin Castle, before they dive into the Underworld.
Yeah, it's a popular looting spot, so certainly looking for the ultimate burr in Crystal Sword or Excal. Dolls being the first part, so that should be taken care of pretty easily. What remains to see is what's after that. There have been known to be some vicious bosses in the second spot. Though we have a full party and we have an edge, so you're usually safe in the knowledge, but you can't always be too sure. That's I think the divergence in rider usage. Do you want to worry about your angering situation later? Swap out Rydia, and use Rydia with Leviathan versus having her as an anchor all the way for the most part. Maybe getting her up to learning warp because you may need that spell at some point down the line.
Absolutely, and you're right. This will be kind of an interesting balance between these two runners, and to see where we end up going. Oh, hey, look, we have dueling Bahamut's.
With double the count. Ha ha ha. Hard to tell. That looks like Locke has a slight lead. Shouldn't be too long. Bahamut's countdown is kind of long with these Semisol agility. Hey, Spoon. Do you want Spoon word? We have so many berserkers. Maybe we'll swap them. Probably not. But it depends. That might change. Depends on what happens down the line. You maybe haven't got enough edge weapons. That might be a thing.
I am immediately going and swapping Rydia out for Edward. Right now, no questions asked. I want 4 Zerks and a Dream.
So you want a Quint? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And combine that, not only am I doing that, I'm also doing this Eblin Castle, because if I get Crystal Sword and Spoonward, everything is just gonna die and lay waste to everything in my path.
Yes, cutting.
But
butter,
that's just me.
cutting butter with spoons. Yeah, that's the dream. The, I mean, certainly, anytime when you don't have to do any actual interaction outside of berserking your characters, it's a nice time. There is, I mean, jamming the queue, slowing down, kind of effectively slowing down the boss. Those are. I mean, that's one of the niceties of berserkers. The other side, sometimes there are just fights, like say our favorite comedian. He's gonna slow you down, and having like say an Avenger carrying Cecil can't quite have that in the early fight. And I saw a Bahamut.
Yep, there was a Bahamut. So, first saying that I'm burninating the countryside. No, Locke is now burninating the entire countryside.
Yeah, Bahamut, good for pretty much anything. It's stronger than Nuke, hits everything. That's kind of the only negative. It's a summon, so which is kind of why it's one of those things where you have Nuke, but for a Z fight, Bahamut has some kind of adverse effects depending on the phase of Z. So typically you rarely see an offensive summon in a Z fight for that very reason.
In the meantime, we see Gambit actually take a random encounter outside, setting up for Golbez so that he can control which characters are going to be knocked down immediately and which characters he can kind of set up with a Star Veil ahead of time.
Yes, it's always good to have some control over your characters like that. I mean, yeah, they have to take a nap, but rather than Golbez telling you who is alive, and Zeus Gauntlet for a nice cheeky Odin Grimoire summon. That is a thing. I love it.
Meanwhile, we have a bunch of poison axes. I think I saw 3 poison axes on Locke's side. Between the poison axes and the mute dagger that Edge certainly has equipped, these Mad Ogres really aren't going to be too much of a problem.
Yeah, Mad Ogres are considered mages and giants. Two things you don't want to be when you have poison axe, which are effective against giants, and mute knives, which are effective against mages. So those are Mad Ogres. The biggest thing about the Mad Ogres, you can't really use any offensive damaging magic outside of say Nuke or Bahamut, and those typically are excessive. Though we can see them once in a while, just to take care of Mad Ogres.
Now we have Locke. Locke is set up perfectly for those Cecil cover strats that you were talking about earlier. Just physical attacks, if you can control things reasonably well through this entire kind of as you're going through the Eblin Castle. And hey, if Cecil's in the back row and has decent armor, he can tank quite a few hits going through here. So very nicely set up by Locke. Meanwhile, Gambit does get through that fight, so we have our first boss completed at this point in time. Doesn't look like Gambit's tempted to go turn in that spoon either. Okay.
At this point, you're kind of mostly set with the party. I can see the Edward Gamble making things a little faster, but I think when you have kind of a steady party, you're not kind of reliant on one person to. They have to kind of take a hit once in a while. You want some stability, so swapping Edward probably might be too much of an unnecessary gamble for our runners. Having Cecil with cover strats, especially in the back row, when Cecil takes damage, regardless of whether the teammate is in the front row or back row, It only matters where Cecil is. So when Cecil's in the back row, all damage is considered back row damage, which is why it increases tankiness. And on top of that, you have the back row glitch, which will allow him to do full damage from the back row, which is perfect ideal spot Cecil is in.
Worth noting, that is one thing that is different with the Blue Moon flags versus the Red Moon flags in this particular tournament. The back row glitch is turned on for Blue Moon. It is not turned on for Red Moon. So keep that in mind as you're toggling through all these different tournament seeds that are being broadcast.
Yeah, back row glitch, to sum it up simply, is if it's a weapon that allows you to do full damage from the back row, like say a bow and arrow or a whip, many various other examples, you want to equip it, and even if you remove it, the game doesn't unset that bit, allowing that character to do full damage, which is a certain nicety. And Pain Man, well, not too bad, but it's Pain Man.
I think that's a painful Pain Man off the top of my head.
Could be. There is another spot that's worse than that. That I think the Rubicon spot is certainly a spot worth mentioning. But if it was the King Queen Ebla spot, it would be worse. So this is kind of slightly better. Slightly.
Meanwhile, Locke finds himself in Excal, so it's not the top of the line Holy Sword, but it's still a pretty darn good Holy Sword. That is going to make quite a bit of difference as we're going through here. Gambit, meanwhile, opted not to loot the Evelyn Castle and is working his way through. Has a little bit of, looted his way through Evelyn Cave, which, again, perfectly viable strat, especially since you're kind of already walking through here.
Yeah, I certainly like looting Evelyn Cave to a degree. I think, but the tier of drops available that you can pick up in Evelyn Castle usually is a little bit more lucrative, even if there is a lot more loot. I'm not even sure what the loot count is on Evelyn Cave. You only have to worry about one, the trap chest, only one trap chest in Evelyn Cave versus 3 in Evelyn Castle. So kind of want to. If you want to weigh your risk, like if you don't want to face the monsters, then you kind of reset. All this, with the parties they have at this point, no resets very much unnecessary.
In the meantime, that Sylph is going to be risky because these Stalemen can certainly punch quite hard. Right now, Cecil is covering the entire party. Cecil cannot cover the entire party if they are not weak, so that did some decent damage, but that Sylph, certainly a risky play right there.
It is certainly risky. I think I think it's kind of a desperation. You don't have any the spell options, not too plentiful, but taking advantage of the Scythe glitch, for those who are not aware of what the glitch does. So Radia consumes 0 MP, as long as she's not in the middle slot, because this, Final Fantasy IV well-coded game, Scythe, all she needs to have is the amount to cast it, but she consumes 0 MP when she's not in the middle slot. Such a nice feature in Final Fantasy IV.
In the meantime, that trap chest, that 4 ogre chest that Gambit did open, has the crystal sword. So the advantage that I was talking about that Locke found with that Excalibur, wiped it all out. And more to the point, he did it kind of on his way through. This is a really great setup by Gambit right now. Crystal Sword Cecil makes everything melt. And by the way, we have a boss that we need to kill anyway along the route.
Yeah, Dark Imps, nothing special, they'll punch, but they all punch equally, and, they punch equally hard, which is kind of making a mess of the fight, hoping to get off Hourglass immediately, and that should be enough to save that match. And also maybe worth even going for a safety save right after this, as this is clearly not not an ideal situation. The surprise boss at this spot can be devastating when they are all punchy, and Dark Imps they all punch. So, and the spot also not balanced at all, so they punch really hard.
Absolutely. It's originally the spot for the King and Queen Eblin. They only cast spells, so of course the original, when you're statting everything out, you're going to give lots of attack power to this particular spot just to make the math work for where it's at. And that's not good when you're a randomizer community, because that means the punchy bosses punch real hard here. In the meanwhile, Locke is also taking this Mad Ogre chest, so he will also end up getting his Super Holy Sword Go Burr and have his Cecil fully online. So this is going to be a race at this point, just who can more efficiently take advantage of Holy Sword, Crystal Sword, Cecil. Locke has some other decent weapons. I saw a Murasame that he picked up for his edge. We still have the Dragoon Lance, still using Rydia, which is perfectly fine. But now we start talking about the high end play, turn efficiency and how much damage per second can you push out and things like that.
I think for Gambit, well, I mean, yes, the complete the battle, but all that experience is kind of missed out. Didn't like Cecil didn't really need the healing; would have survived anyways. But I think the opportunity would have ideally been try to keep Kane and Edge, and maybe Rosa alive. With like last command life potion on Rosa just to keep the XP going. Locke, on the other hand, will probably after picking up the crystal sword might kind of realize, hey, if my opponent picked up the crystal sword here instead of skipping Evelyn Castle, I might be a little bit behind. This because not having one of the best Burr at the time at the location. That's time kind of lost on Locke and gained on Gambit indirectly. It's like a reversal of sorts.
Meanwhile, Gambit through the Dark Knight Cecil fight, very well done, but does end up seeing Vivales is at the top of the Tower of Babel in the lower portion, so not a required boss fight. We don't have the tower key yet. I think that's going to be someplace that we avoid for a little bit. We might do kind of the standard, hey, let's check on some of these other boss spots. I think Rydia has enough levels for Warp. Barely. We shall see how this goes out. And yeah, almost immediately looks like, well, at least going to heal up. But I think Dwarf Castle is on the table.
Yeah, I think Val at that spot, while be tanky, not actually as dangerous as you think. The reason is this. If I recall correctly, that spot, the Dark Luge spot, doesn't have any magic defense when she's in tornado form. So, if Rydia needs to cast a spell for whatever reason, it'll work. That would. So I think that right now, I mean, it's definitely not an attractive one, but certainly very doable at this stage. And that's an actual Odin cast and sweat kill right there.
Locke just showing off for the community. This is what happens when you get on Restream. Sometimes you just show off a little bit, but I approve Locke.
Yeah, there are probably got safer options. I mean, Odin not the most accurate. Has a native 50% chance of failing outright even before worrying about it working in the first place. So that's safer strats for that. So, usually more stable strats, like something used Toad, which has a significantly more accuracy. But certainly, if you can use an Odin and swag kill like that, I can't say no to that.
Meanwhile, chat pointing out, looks like we did find sirens that are available in Dwarf Castle. So we have our grind, which is fantastic to see. In the meantime, we have our other Mylan fight is going to be our first fight here in Dwarf Castle. Not a required fight, again, but there is the second boss that we would love to be able to see.
Yeah, so Dwarf has been a popular spot to do essentially the two required boss fights back to back. and then you get the Warp Glitch that's available only in the Blue Moon spots. So there'll be two key items. One you get from got from Luca, and one from using the Warp Glitch. So dwarf not usually not considered the top spot. Usually often faded in non-boss search situations. And oh hey, there's an Odin required boss.
Required boss. We were bound to run into one of those required bosses sooner or later.
I think I saw a free Leviathan from the spell list, the brief blip on Gambit screen. So that is if you paid for Leviathan, can you ask for your money back? Is that possible? Unfortunately, no, that's not possible.
No, there's a saying, all of the merchants in Final Fantasy IV take a cue from Marcus from Borderlands. They say, no refunds.
All sales are final, they say too. That's how you. So definitely nice. If I seen Locke deciding since Pen in Hand, Will is doing the Scythe Cave and Sheila check, which is certainly a viable choice. Trying to collect the key items quickly and hope for Darkness Crystal, which is still looming currently.
Okay, I see a power shirt that Gambit saw on one side. I did not see what Locke ended up picking up, because Locke opted to turn the pan in first immediately before doing anything for Dwarf Castle.
It was a Moonveil, so it could be of some use. I mean, if you use Moonveil on a covering Cecil, he's just effectively immortal for any super punchy bosses. So can be useful depending on what bosses are still left on the table, and there are certainly punchy bosses left on the table, like a Baigen or Evil Wall. We don't think we've seen those yet, so there are certain uses for Moonveil other than the Reflect, which is doubly stronger than the Vanilla Rat Tail 2.
Also, the key item that we got for defeating the Dwarf Castle is the Baron Key. And the Baron Key is very, very important in this particular flag set. Because we're doing all the boss hunts, Baron Key hides away. 3 different bosses. We did see a Lunar Sparkle to start the game, so that's not important. But still, 2 otherwise blind boss checks. There's only 2 key items in the game that kind of block off or gate off 2 boss locations. And the other one is the Earth Crystal, and it only kind of half counts because you can get to Zot 1 without it, but people still don't like to route it in unless they have the Earth Crystal, so we kind of count it. But that still makes Baron Key very, very important when it comes to boss hunts.
Yeah, certainly Baron Key is definitely worth doing, especially in this flag set. But the bosses at Feymarch, both guards. If you don't know which one they are, it doesn't matter. Just pick one and you'll fight them both. Totally free bosses, so the key item is really worth picking up, even if it's not the one we need. And free XP. So this certainly worth the time to actually go do. Just heal Cecil and let him cover everyone. That's the solution to a lot of problems in this seed.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Gambit is doing right now. It says, hey, yeah, we can do this pretty easy. I do remember we picked up a Mute Bell along the way, so that those guards are going to be relatively easy.
It's certainly easier. So with the Baron guards, they're considered mages, so Mute Knife does work, and also casting Mute will prevent them from doing their counters, which can be kind of devastating. Oh, I'll go with another swag Odin. Let's see if this goes. Oh, it works
again. What the heck, Locke?
Why can't I have that kind of luck? Where is this? I don't. It's. I would think Gambit would do this. This is reversal of roles. How is this possible? What is this?
Well, and it's just a white shirt, but I say just a white shirt, but that's fine.
not Gambit not going for full HP. Ideally you would use a coffin on the officer or an hourglass, and try to get the extra life glitch on. Life glitch being that you want to use a life potion after a monster has died, as long as there's another monster left on the screen. And life potion being what it is, the life spell and also the life spell, all it cares about is your vitality stat. And since monsters have 0 vitality, it just means 0 times whatever number, which is 5 for the life with the life spell, and that always equals 0. So that also means one more monster of that type killed.
Locke's living off this Odin right now. This is the most work I've seen Odin do ever. Both bosses down on Locke's side. Not key items though, so
I think this is still great gear. I mean, Crystal Ring will be doing real work against any more whatever dragon bosses that are left on the table. I mean, especially Pale Dim, will always punch at the spots. There's, I think, Dark Elf is still on the table, the second form of Dark Elf, which is required. So that's so and we have then again we have Kane, who has Dragoon Spear, who will then kind of do work. So there is not enough dragons in this seed apparently. So I think we're good. So Locke is kind of retracing some of Gambit's steps as that, as a lot of things will happen. When you do enough of the seed, your opponent will also retrace your steps as well. So not surprising. So when we get Gambit back on, we'll see where Gambit goes. Probably maybe doing a keyless tower check or doing pan check, which is both are still pretty solid options on the table.
yeah, looks like Gambit just finished up his other fight. I think going through and doing all the pan checks, I think is perfectly fine. If you haven't already done the bull, that seems to be a reasonable choice. Also, he has that Baron key, and I mentioned it earlier. Baron seems to be just a solid play in this particular tournament. Anytime you get it, just go do Baron. You will never regret it. I promise.
I mean, well, it can happen some of the time. It might not even work out. I think at least if you're gonna do the pan checks, the finish of the pan checks, you kind of do the pan checks and then follow into Baron, which from a routing perspective makes a lot of sense until we find another kind of overworld bound key item like Earth Crystal or Harp. So kind of like ideally runners would maybe try to clear out as much of the underground as possible. Maybe do a keyless tower trick. Maybe skip it since the tower key is might not be in play unless the tower key is at the tower itself. So that there's always that.
All right, so Locke and Gambit at this point are very, very close to one another. Gambit is now opting to go into the overworld. Locke, I gotta imagine, is close behind, unless we make a play for that top of the tower, which would be an interesting play. We mentioned earlier, it's we know what boss it is. Not necessarily something that we have to beat. So it'd be really interesting to do that right now. Does look like Gambit is going ahead to turn in this rat tail right away. I like this play actually as well.
I mean, certainly the rat tail is worth a check. We'll generate key item or hey, underground access. Totally need it. Yes, just like the meme says.
Gambit, you were waiting for that, weren't you? I can tell.
I was. I was. Oftentimes before doing this check, sometimes doing the pan turn-in, like maybe you get the pink tail, so you can do both like this. There is a possible chance a pink tail shows up right when you least expect it. So it would save another trip, although the pink tail not required. But still, another chance for some lucrative key item, maybe a decent weapon for edge, for all we know.
All right, Sheila 1 giving us, Sheila 1 and Sheila 2 both paying off. So we have an Earth Crystal, which, again, 2 bosses that we can now check off. The Luca Key, which is another gated boss, and also the Baron Key that we still have. This is proving to be really fruitful. All of the key items up to this point in time that gate off other bosses located within early access, none of them hidden on the moon. So you clear everything out here, and then as soon as you get access to the Darkness Crystal, you're kind of free and clear to do that without concern that you might have abandoned something.
Looking for treasury? Nope, skipping. Probably with Crystal Sword in hand, there is not much loot. Maybe another edge Hanzo Steel might be nice, but you're not going to get that much more power from the treasury, so it makes sense from Gambit's point of view. But the routing is simply once you complete Earth, you literally drop off into Baron, which will be followed immediately after. So this is certainly a very smart play from Gambit.
Absolutely. I love the routing here, and I imagine Locke is going to be doing something very similar. Locke, worth noting, got to Fabul first, but did not do the Fabul defense check. Gotta check that just because it's a boss. Meanwhile, also worth noting, Locke has not gone back. He is aware that where Golbez is located, but has not gone back to actually do the Golbez fight.
Probably worth delaying. I mean, I think I see a ribbon in Gambit's inventory. I do not know where that was picked up. Having a ribbon makes the Golbez fight nicer. You have essentially an additional character that will immediately survive, and Locke is the one that actually needs the treasury. So it's that time of the seed, folks.
We are gonna rate that treasury, Zeus. Stardust. Defense, Ninja, Protect. Wow.
Inventory boss has shown its face. I like if you love looting. This boss shows up when you least expect it. Then again, if you haven't sold anything, you probably needed it. And wow, this treasury, probably 9 out of 10. Stardust Rot being the thing. Best another solo weapon for Kane. This is pretty good treasury, all things said and done.
Yeah, this was about as good of a treasury as you could possibly hope for. Defense Sword, if you were worried about any weaponry for Kane, realistically, it's his best weapon until he hits like level 70 or something. Plus, I mean, everything else, you are not wanting for anything right now. Firebird Lover in chat's like, what's higher than 10?
It can go up to 11. You know that. It certainly can go up to 11. I think that's a yellow ears. I think someone has figured out the meta for the ears, because the palette kind of provides a hint as to what the boss is there. Maybe I'm thinking it's a Val. I have no idea. Oh no, we know where Val is. Oh, this is free, and we need this.
It is free, and we do need this. This is a fantastic pickup.
Yeah, Dark Elf. We're just waiting to change to its next form. The only nasty thing is the kind of weak into Piggy Whisper. Give guaranteed Piggy on a target unless there's resistance. But the kind of the best thing is when it changes the second form, there is no boss bit. Dark Elf normally has a boss bit, but Dragon form, totally has no boss bit, and you can do some really nasty spells, but Burr solves everything too.
See, here's what I'm worried about right now on Locke's behalf. Locke, I mean, Locke has done more looting throughout this entire siege than Gambit has. Gambit made the strategic decision, hey, I have all the power I need, I don't need to loot this treasury. Locke went ahead and looted it. He got some fantastic items. I mean, the Avenger Sword by itself, but the Stardust Rods, I mean, he is looted out and kitted out the rest of his party. But the question is, did the loot that he get make up the time difference in battles across the rest of the seed that he spent looting it? And I'm not entirely certain that it did. I think we're going to get towards the end of this seed, and if Locke is about minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes behind, we're going to look back and look at that time that he spent in the treasury and go, oh, that might have hurt him.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the series of decisions Gambit makes. Right now, we're not quite at boss peaking mode. We still have 3 bosses to go. We want to start peaking, and when there's like 1 or 2 bosses left on the table. So right now, at this point, it's hard to determine that. It depends on how gated our remaining bosses are. So it's not a guarantee that all that looting will hurt Locke, but certainly all that looting, at least the treasury looting, probably probably didn't add that much power to Locke. It's just once you've have Burr, and you've pretty much reached kind of the peak power that you can have for the seed at the very least.
In the meantime, we have Gambit over here now doing the Baron Key. The Paladin fight, great fight. I mean, we're like I said, we're pretty well kitted out to be able to do anything here. Dragoon Lance, decent katanas. Really, it's just a matter of getting Cecil to actually swing.
Yeah, I think there was a moment that wanted to kind of kill off Rydia to keep her down. Right now, I think the only thing really needs to be looked for, maybe on Gamma's side, is to look for a cursed ring. Ideally, otherwise it'd just be a kind of a character swap of Rydia to maybe Edward. Brief spoonward cameo, and Sparkle we don't need. It's not required, so that's unfortunate.
May not be required, but this is going to go very fast. Plague, you are going to have yourself a bad day. We are pretty well kitted out right now. So it's really interesting from here. We have this, we're going through Baron Castle right now. We do have the Odin spot, which is still available. We are looking for that Darkness Crystal yet. So we have there, I think you go ahead and check the boss at the Luca Cave regardless. But we're starting to run out of options for where this Darkness Crystal could be, aren't we?
Yeah, there aren't too many spots, so it could just as well be at Odin's spot. Yeah, there aren't too many spots left. Tower Key from completing the slot is certainly worthwhile. So there's 2 underground checks or Odin check, probably doing the Odin check following the completion of the pot at the end of the Enterprise Road. So that certainly depends on what key items are left. Still, Harp is the only thing left gating a boss, but a pass would just be as well a decent pickup if it's there. And speak of it.
Yep, there's the pass. I guess I forgot Earth Crystal led us to the Tower Key, which is again another key item that is blocking at least one boss access. So I think we do this Odin check while it's here. And then here's going to be the interesting question. If the Darkness Crystal is at this Odin spot, what do you do? Would you go ahead? Do you check the other two boss locations in the Tower Key and Luca Key before you go to the moon, or do you immediately abandon ship and roll?
I would rather face check when I'm on the moon. So I would so if I were doing this, do Odin. Although that looks like was it Baigen? So that's a nope. So just do the underground. Maybe do a package check if that wasn't already done, and then roll on the moon. You get a free peek at K value. So if you don't have to do moon, like moon specifically LST, then why this is that's because once you start doing the LST dive, you're consuming time. Especially if you're still at 4, you're not face checking. You have to actually do some of the battles. That may be a problem. But although there aren't many bosses left, and there's also Giant on the table too. We're not forgetting that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Locke did go ahead and fight that fight. It is the karate fight. It was not Baigen. So Gambit reset out. Locke, okay, it was the Silent Staff. Gambit rolling the dice there was not punished necessarily.
Interesting decision not to reset out. I mean, there's no I'm not. I mean, not sure Locke has gotten a stat stick for Rosa, so that might be the thing. But probably worth resetting out. That's because the walk is I don't know, maybe 15-30 seconds. I have they haven't done Kanazo spot, so that makes sense. Just do it all in one. Okay, that's understandable.
Yep. Meanwhile, Gambit wanted to take a couple eggs. Worth noting, Gambit's at 10 key items at this point, so set up very well to go ahead and grind on the eggs if whenever he wants to for his grind and get set up for the rest of the seed. So certainly going up to tower, it'll be interesting to see if he full clears tower or just does a cheeky check the one boss or not.
Might as well do both. Harp is still kind of at large, so maybe worth doing. Oh, this is Alt Gauntlet. Have fun.
I mean, I like the play. I also hate this play. This is one of those things where you think this is going to be a very quick check. So you come in, you want to go in and out, and no, you're going to have a bad time because now we have to do 5 fights.
Yeah, you're going to have to do the battle, but just as well, your opponent will most likely do the same thing. Locke has done has the tower key, so most likely as a follow-up, the Tower of Babel check is going to be kind of in play. You have 2 bosses, 2 potential key items that are left. Those are so kind of stacks in favor for Locke doing that over say doing Sealed Cave. So it's kind of right now Locke is really in follow mode and not quite in the position to kind of get an advantage unless some gambling plays are done here.
I mean, worth noting that Gambit is not set up terribly well for an alt gauntlet right here. Not a lot of J items. He has a party full of Zerkers where Edge isn't the leader. So if Edge is your first attacker in Berserker setups, you can usually have him set up Flame or Blitz or something to kind of sweep through these fights to make it much, much faster. Party's not set up terribly well to be able to do that. Not a ton of J items, so it's going to be a bit longer of a slog, especially when we get... Okay, well, looks like we're actually going to use like the Gaia drum here.
Yeah, when you see things that look like pink puffs that are not, they are super tanky offensively. You need to use some items or J magic to take care of them. You can use size from Rosa, but those J items are much quicker. I mean, you only need to do kind of like weak triple digit damage and they're gone. So it doesn't take much for them to go down. Otherwise, but that was quick enough. And um, I think there's some up to alt gauntlets. There are some spots where the alt gauntlet isn't for Edge having all his spells not always effective. Like there are some combinations, like say, like the Chimera, which absorbs all the elemental spells. That's that makes Edge's magic ineffective. Virus is always a great spell, but his Riot is down, so we're not expecting much from Riot at this seed, at least for him.
I really like what Locke did just there in climbing the tower. This is a boss that we may not have to do. If you fight this boss and it is not the Darkness Crystal, it's not the Twin Heart. Those are the only two things we care about at this point in time. If it's not Darkness Crystal and not Twin Heart, reset out and save yourself some fanfare, save yourself a little bit of walking time. I love that Locke saved it. Gambit did not save it, so he's going to have to walk this whole thing out regardless. Locke will, when he resets out, he'll still have to do the alt gauntlet. Gambit cannot reset because he did not save between that and the gauntlet time.
I think this is actually guaranteed to be darkness. There aren't any other bosses. We've already warp glitched the sealed cave, so it's all we be checking at sealed cave is just the boss. So this is guaranteed to be darkness crystal.
It could be at the tower key spot too. Remember that you don't get that until you exit, right?
Yeah, when we leave, we'll know who exactly has the. It doesn't matter. We'll have darkness crystal by the time we leave. This is fine. Well, Locke still has to do alt gauntlet, which is kind of the only thing that's holding him back a little bit.
And it's the Adamant. So do we? So here's the interesting thing. Right now, if we want to, both runners could go turn in the Adamant and the Legend Sword for some sort of weapon from Final Fantasy IV Advance. We updated this particular flag set so that it's some sort of in-game weapon, usually on par strength with what should be the Crystal Sword. Not always, though. Sometimes you get an Excalibur, sometimes you get a piece of scrap metal. I think the more important thing is it does open up that shop at the Cocoa Forge, which tends to have some really, really nice items like Zeus gauntlets and power shirts and things like that. So both of those are available to us. But again, I don't know if we need the power right now. I don't think either of the runners need it, honestly. I think they should be good to go. But they're going to get this Darkness Crystal, and it'll be interesting to see if either of them opt to go down and make those checks first.
From a power perspective, maybe the only character that would most benefit would be like Kain, secondarily Edge. Some good Hanzo Steel or a Kain weapon like Abel's Lance would kind of put him back, put it at the same level as Cecil to a degree. So I think for Gambit, much more. Locke, not so much. Locke has done so much looting. It's gonna kind of work even further against even if they both take Forge. So I think, but Gambit probably may be worthwhile and see what's there. But this also just as well just skip it altogether because there is. The pool isn't restricted to any particular character. It's not Sea Hero, and it could be for a character not in the seed. So there can be some completely unusable item from Forge.
In the meantime, Gambit is over here showing us he is double checking the Luca Cave boss. You mentioned earlier we had the warp glitch, so we were able to get the key item out of this using the warp glitch back when we did Dwarf Castle. But on a boss hunt, that doesn't necessarily matter because we're still searching for bosses. Now, we have 3 bosses that are still out there. We have Rubicante, we have the Elements, and we have Dr. Luge. So we're still looking for 3 different bosses. We have 8 total checks that are unlocked by the Darkness Crystal. It's interesting. Statistically, you should want to go up there, but I completely understand this play, and I think it's the same one that I would make.
Yeah, kind of full knowledge completion thing. You know, do you want to make sure that everything that is on available? Oh no, that's a reset. Uh, the that you know are all the bosses accessible? Do you need to dive? Do you need to full dive LST? That's kind of ideally this kind of the prevent haunted moon kind of dive. Like, do you try to do everything to avoid it? And you know, there's just a chance that the last two are on giant, and that would be fun for us. Terrible for our runners, but that would be something, and worth maybe something Locke would might consider gambling outright, because if it's an LST dive with all that loot, Locke is gonna lose. So maybe that might be something Locke might have to consider doing. Doing that.
In the meantime, Gambit is also making a cheeky package check. We got the package right from the beginning of the game, and we mentioned we may not see it checked unless you're feeling behind. You know what? I like it. Gambit is making those last minute boss checks before he goes to the moon. Meanwhile, Locke is going to be turning in that adamant. So adamant. We'll see what weapon he'll be rewarded with.
A package of ninjas. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally vanilla. Yeah, it's the new lore we're creating every moment, and for a harp, to a bard that actually is in the seed, but we already have a spoon for, and so doubly not useful at this point. But spent it on the I think some actual Hanzo steel, so not completely leaving empty-handed.
Not completely, but I mean, if that's the only thing that was available. We were hoping for a little bit more, but okay, I suppose.
So Gambit is gonna find out soon enough what the boss is, and for this scenario, I actually just learned it kind of today, or is it a few days ago, about the P interaction after the fight. And Locke is deciding to do the bosses that were skipped earlier, which is not a bad play. Sometimes you can delay it. You can delay it until you have to go to the moon, and it's kind of convenient to. It makes sense to do it. And squid, not happening.
Nope, reset out. I do appreciate Gambit taking the time to check those last two spots. Again, we've seen races won and lost because of that particular package check. I think it's prudent to check it before you go to the moon, particularly since you have the pass as well.
Yeah, the pass has a lot of value. Like, kind of sensor says, when you've completed an LST dive, you don't have to come back. That's what pass says, and it's always a good thing for runners as well. Not a key item, still a very important item in terms of routing and trying to figure out what's the next best thing to do. So always, it's one of those things runners keep in the back of their minds. Boss spot for Octomam. So with where Golbez is at, not actually very not doesn't have any magic power worth speaking of. So you see that lightning 3, easily evaded. So that's that's one of those things. If you did this in the early game, you might get hit and not have enough HP to survive it. So it's sometimes it's one of those instances where fighting the boss when you're kind of at power overwhelming relative to the spot is a safer thing.
In the meantime, Gambit done all the checks on his way to the moon. We shall see. Looks like Locke is going to be heading up there directly. Gambit. Neither of these runners have really done much of a grind, although we certainly found sirens earlier. I would like to imagine that we'll be doing, might crack a couple eggs up here on these King Ryus.
Sirens, but egg grind definitely on everyone's mind. That's a buy again. No, so that's a definitely nope. So time to face Gambit's definitely going to start face checking bosses in the LST unless you want to go cheeky with a oh yes. So we're going LST dive. At the moment there, just try not to panic if that was a diversion to giant bosses.
I think again, giant is a play that you make if you feel behind right now. Statistically speaking, 6 bosses on the moon, 2 bosses in the giant. So if you feel behind and you feel like, okay, I have to make a low percent play in the hopes of winning, I think you do giant first, especially when there's 3 bosses total that you're missing.
I think with the current, we have current bosses left on the table, and Harp being the only thing that's gating a boss. Currently, Fade Harp is completely in effect. Certain rodent prefers to Fade Harp, and others of Team Fade Harp. This is your seed. So, if you don't find it on the moon or giant, then there'll be one there. But we're probably gonna see all of them and hear Dr. Dialogue here.
Not a bad spot for Dr. Luge. Not bad HP, all things said. Normally the Pale Dim spot is right here. Yeah, this is just, zerk up your Cecil and let's go.
Yeah, there'll be maybe a slight stumbling block in the second phase, where poison may affect getting berserk. You want to get your berserk before getting poisoned. You can't do it the other way around due to this game's status priorities. At least terms of magic, where status, highest status in this game would be kind of is death. The weakest status effectively is actually berserk. So anything can affect berserk from being applied. So if you're healthy, berserk is fine. When you're in any other state, berserk doesn't work.
And Caront in chat asking the important questions. Now, which leg comes first? Full leg or quarter leg?
That would be a fun bet to have, just running, just because that's what's left. There is,
yep.
Leg is left, quarter leg or full leg, and I'm here to see it. Both are always dangerous on the table, regardless of spot. So, full leg, especially on say super high magic spots like Ogo, can be fun. And fun in terms of, hey, this glare, have you seen quad 9 damage? I will show you how.
So that, that's a good question. We'll put that question out to chat. Go ahead and this is for engagement. We gotta have chat engaged with everything. So guys, go ahead and put in chat full leg or quarter leg, and where do you want to see it? We have a few different boss spots left. We have, of course, the Crystal Sword altar. We have the White Spear altar. We have the Ribbon Room, Masamune altar, or on the Giant. Which place are we going to see our first boss objective, and which one's it going to be?
I'll just humor the worst case. They'll both legs are on the Giant. That's my call. I'm making it right now. It's fun, it's exciting, and the noises from the Giant when you do the sequence, all you hear is the leg sounds, the leg crunching the ground. So I am for full leg party in the Giant.
Full leg in the Giant. And so that means you want quarter leg hiding at the CPU spot then.
They're all legs. They are all legs. We are legs.
I'm more of a drums person myself, but
maybe thighs, leg adjacent. That's about that's all I have.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like okay, we got. I was trying to make a wings joke because wings and legs and drums and flats and okay, we're just. I'm getting hungry, so let's move on.
So Dr. Ulige, second phase. One of the kind of fun artifacts you learned about status priority in this fight due to gas. Gas never works when poison is applied, which is kind of ironically cool, but you don't. It's not obvious until you've seen it enough time. And it's like, wait, why doesn't sleep work on poisoned characters? That's so. And we found our first set of leg. It's only quarter, so this, and here is the true leg in his spot.
The magic attack really isn't too bad here, and this is probably as friendly as you can possibly hope for this particular location. And Cecil's doing his job, and everyone else is doing their job. This is going to go quite fast, but Gambit is going to be the first one in go mode and the first one with bosses down. At this point, probably go back for a safety save, and then, yeah, I think it's less time if you exit out, now that I think about it.
It has been a thing. Do you want to, swag walk? Words are hard. Swag walk all the way down, or exit and then go trek all the way. But it looks like I think Gambit looks like he's doing maybe a quick grind before going. This makes a lot of makes us sense. I'm not sure what we need to grind to. Maybe white, and that's about it. I think Gambit's Rosa probably has Cure 4 already. So if there's a grind, it's just trying to get to safe Z level life HP. So we're talking about 2700 HP, which Kane and Cecil will get to close enough. Rosa, maybe 2k is good enough for the most part.
2k would be good enough. I mean, we have a white shirt, we have a protect ring, we have a tiara. You're worried about high rolled at 1800 health, so just a few more levels and you will be fine. That being said, with the party setup that we have, I'm only worried about what Rydia's agility is, because otherwise, you have 3 Zerkers, you let them do Zerk things, and you don't even worry about a second Big Bang.
Locke has found Nope Rope, or fondly nicknamed Ogopogo, in the Wyvern spot, the Crystal Sword altar. So that's a definite nope. When you're face checking, you don't care what the boss is as long as it's the right boss you're looking for. So if it's not the boss you want, you don't have to fight it. If there were less bosses left, there were still more bosses left, then there would be more fighting. But no, you don't want to, when you're speed running, you do not want to waste the time. Find the boss you need and then go.
Yeah, and you can keep your swag walk not saving on your way to Zemus. I'll take the swag whale, landing that gigantic whale in like the 1 square location that you can outside Troya.
Yes, starting to see these Z flags showing up. Deja, I guess it's time to go to bed, or at least, it's about that. It is early, but some people need more sleep than others. But I guess they want us to take a nap, go to sleep, something like that.
It is bedtime. It is my bedtime. I'm not gonna lie. So I appreciate the suggestion, everyone, chat. But no, that's not what we mean. We are Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. We are a randomizer community, and we like randomizing everything in this game. There's just one problem. We can't mix up the end boss. We can't put him into the rest of the pool with the rest of the bosses because he has so many special mechanics. So what are we to do? We mix up his final form when he shows his true colors, and we use the crystal on him. There are close to 600 different sprites that are all randomized in the pool when Zero Mist shows his true colors. So, those Z flags always ask, whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
With side questions like, does it have a hat? Does it have a butt? Is butt cute? Questions will be answered soon enough, and we'll see very soon. And Locke, doing current right now. Is that a swag rock? Swag walk? I can't. I don't remember. There was a save before, but it's immediate move, and I don't recognize that boss.
Or Phanomus. It certainly looks like a Final Fantasy type boss, though, so I approve of it either way.
So probably going probably a little bit hybrid. I mean, there's mostly berserkers, so we'll see a lot of berserking. But that nuke coming out as a reaction, and that I need a heal Edge, or he will take, even with a nerf Big Bang, it would still take Edge down. Nerf Big Bang caps out at 1200. And then some due to HP leak, but Rydia probably going to take a nap, and she does. So, but that, hey, Rydia, you did your job. Go take a nap and take the rest of the seed off.
And here's the problem that I did not anticipate. We have not found any Bacchus wines. Now, Locke is right on Gambit's tail right now. To the best of our, we have Zerk cast up on Cecil. We did have that Avenger that I don't know that Locke will be able to use. I don't know if Gambit is darting it or doing something else with it. I'm trying to get everyone set up though.
Yeah, it's a little more traditional fight outside of Berserking Cecil. When you have all the starting material, especially Drain Spears being really nice, easily buyable if it's available, and has a very high attack power. The weapon itself not very good on its own because of its low accuracy, but a perfect dart and always a very good pickup when you see an Edge and you want to throw things when you think his attack power is not so great. Yeah, throw all the things. Throw the kitchen sink as well while you're at it.
Chat pointing out, Edge as an anchor is kind of a curious decision, but Edge with 2 Murasames at this level, according to Infinius, is 20 in agility, which is kind of a sweet spot for agility for your anchor. So that's a fantastic setup that Locke has.
Yeah, I think the kind of agility kind of a capping point is about kind of like the agility of the boss divided by 5, so it kind of rounds up to a 14. So 28 is also kind of a sweet number, and we see rocks, but so there might be some devastation and left to one man himself, and he might have carried the seed himself to finish this match.
Crash, boom, bang. Oh, what a clutch finish. Gambit does finish. That was close. Cecil with the dodge on Medio, and coming in with the win, Gambit017. GG's. We'll see if Gambit's available for a quick chat here. And we are joined now by Gambit017. Way to clutch that out with the rocks dodge for Cecil.
Yeah, I saw those rocks come, and I saw Cecil got to dodge. I'm like, well, I either win right here or I lose right here, and thankfully Cecil was able to carry the day.
Yeah, I think your late grind. You think try to get them your characters to closer to 2,000. Is that, I assume that was the call before you saved and started the Z walk from Troya.
Yeah, I wanted Rosa at over 2,000 HP. I know she had a white shirt on and a tiara on, and magic defense was pretty good, but I did not want to risk a high roll Big Bang taking Rosa out. So I was like, let's get that extra level. It's only going to need 1 Siren. I've got an Hourglass, so it's a free fight. I've got a Dragon Lance. It's going to take 4 swings at most. It was a quick, easy way to make sure I had the levels there. And Yeah, and I mean, it paid off. The one cure 4 is all I needed, and my agility setup was not what I wanted, but I kind of rolled with it and made it work, and thankfully everything was fine.
Was there any temptation to use Edward? I know this much early in the seed, and you think you picked up the spoon. I don't remember where it was, but early and on enough before starting to do the hook route. I know it was obvious that you picked out Rydia as your anchor. Was there any temptation to swap them out?
If there had been a Tella, I would have taken that Edward. I would have demachined. I would have slingshot him to the moon and gone with Edward's swinging that spoon all day long. But no Tella, no good way to slingshot him. It's just too much of a time investment, too much of a glass cannon to really be worth it. And when you're trying to, especially on E-Seed, you saw once I got Darkness Crystal, I was in face check straight up. It's like, okay, I'm an hour in face check. Let's just run. And it would have trying to grind Edward up to levels where he would have been helpful would have been counterproductive.
Certainly. Lateja, do you have any questions for Gambit?
I mean, it's very interesting kind of seeing the different routes that you guys took. You followed routes honestly kind of very similar to how I play, so it was really fun watching you play this particular seed. Talk to me a little bit about the decision before you went to the moon. Checking Luca Cave I don't think is that far off, but you even checked the package. What's the motivation there? Did you feel behind when you checked it, or is that just a safety check that you've decided to start making?
It's actually the exact opposite. I felt ahead. And feeling ahead, I'm like, let's make these 2 checks. Let's clear everything on Earth. Because the only thing on Earth I could not get to was the boss behind Twin Heart. So I was like, let's make these checks. If one of them pays out, I'm literally looking for one boss on the moon. If neither of them pay out, okay, well, at least I've checked them. And I'm not going to run into a situation where I run up to the moon needing 2 or 3 bosses. I get up there and only find one. And lo and behold, that second one was in one of those 2 spots. So feeling ahead, I was like, I felt I could waste the 6 or so minutes in total for the 2 checks. And again, it didn't pay out this time. But if there's one of those times that it pays, I mean, it could mean the difference between what this one was, which was a 3-minute seed, and winning by like 5 or 6 minutes.
There was some thought it was. I mean, it was kind of fortunate. You had kind of skipped doing Eblin Castle checks. You didn't want to loot it, but you did end up picking up the crystal sword in the Tower of Babel, heading to the undergrounds on the hook route. So, any particular reason to skip Eblin Castle? What was the thought behind that?
I had a poison axe. And while poison axe is not necessarily the best weapon in the world for Cecil, it was serviceable for going underground with. My thought process was, when I get underground, I'll see about finding something down there if I need to. And my thought was always going to be to take at the very least, the ogres in Upper Babel, and that they paid out with a crystal sword. Which it was funny, you saw I switched out Cecil from that poison axe to the ogre axe I picked up on the way down Evelyn. At the very end of that fight, because I was like, okay, yeah, ogre axe is better, more accurate than the poison axe. This will be fine, no worries. And then it procs his crystal sword. I'm like, well, never mind, then we're good.
All right, and I guess the last question, just hoping to get your kind of overall thoughts on this set of flags. I know we're several weeks into the tournament up to this point already. And this set of flags feels very different from any of the past tournaments that are more key item focused and not necessarily boss hunt focused. Can you tell me just kind of your overall thoughts on the differences between previous tournaments and this one?
That's been the biggest thing to try to get out of the habit of. I'm so used to not boss checks, but key item hunts, that I'll take fights that I shouldn't be taking looking for a key item. For instance, the Feymarch is a perfect example. That Feymarch was free, absolutely free with the hourglasses. Made perfect sense to make those checks if I'm hunting key items. I'm not hunting key items. I shouldn't have made those checks. At that point, I didn't have Darkness Crystal yet, so that's why I was like, let me go ahead and take these, because if one of these is Darkness, I'm going to be well behind. They're easy enough. Let's get them out of the way. But trying to get used to saying, okay, am I in phase check? Yes, good. Do I need to check for key item? No. If it's not what I need, reset, move on. It's been the hardest thing to get to take care of in my head. I've been doing a decent job of it. My first couple practice seeds were horrible, like 2+ hours, because I wasn't remembering that. But as the tournament's gone on, I've been able to kind of pick that up and know when I'm in phase check mode. For instance, getting that Darkness Crystal this seed and seeing, okay, the only gating key item I didn't have was Twin Harp. I'm in straight up phase check. There's nothing that I can't get to. I've got access to everything I need. It's just a matter of finding it. And recognizing when you're in that mode is kind of the key to this flag set and whether or not you're going to be able to do well.
Yeah, certainly. Like been saying, like all the face checking makes a lot more sense when you're towards the end, where it can't kind of risk it that early. So yeah, the decisions kind of become easier when, especially until you need key items like Darkness Crystal or to get more access, as you've said. So yeah, that completely agree with that mindset. Do you have any additional questions, Vatasia?
No, I was just going to ask if you have any other comments, Gambit. Otherwise, GG on your win.
Of my races so far, this was the one that I felt was going to be the very closest, and it definitely was. Locke is a very good runner. I felt good. I felt I could beat them, but I wasn't positive of it. And I mean, they showed, considering how close they were to my finish, they showed just how good of a runner they are as well. So definitely GG's to him. I do want to thank you, Vatasia and Deathlight, for doing the comms, X-Pancras for this wonderful Jetty Seed, and Commander Leonhardt for pressing the buttons. I will let you guys get locked in here for an interview if he wants one. I will see y'all next week for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, GG's again, Gambit. That was certainly a good show.
We'll see if we have Locke available. There he is, Locke. GG's. Welcome.
Thank you.
So in that seat, that was interesting choices that were made. A lot more looting. And definitely were decent dive in Eblin and Treasury. So how about your thoughts on those?
I just loot too much, and I already know I did for a while now. But I like just grabbing things. It's fun seeing what's in the chests. It's the part of rando I can't get out of. It's just what's in the chest. I want it. I was also looking for armor for the most part for half that seat, because I don't think I had anything like power shirts, any kind of good helmets. Got a couple of Zeus gauntlets, so those are nice.
Yeah,
but until like later on, I didn't have anything for the mages to really survive.
Yeah, I think I could definitely see that. There was quite the armory, but I mean there was a lot of power overwhelming. I think you picked up an Excal, although I think you also really picked up the Crystal Sword from looting the Tower of Babel, and the Avenger from the Treasury probably certainly something that helped along the way for sure.
That definitely helps, especially when you forget to take it off and you just see Cecil swing and you're like, oh, oops. I mean, it paid off in the football gauntlet because he cut down like everything before I had a chance to do anything, so it worked. But I definitely forgot to take it off again.
Yeah, fortunately, I don't think you had your Goldbus fight. You know where it was, so there wasn't too many other fights where Avenger wouldn't have made an impact. But that certainly helped a lot. You had, so I think that main distinction between you and your opponent was keeping Roddy alive, and that was what was the decision behind that?
We got Bahamut. Bahamut just blows up everything, you know? And it actually did a lot of work then with Odin taking out the 2 Famer spots. I'm sure it saved me a little bit of time. Just Hourglass Odin them all. Like, we actually got decent summons for her, so I'm like, I'll keep her alive. You know, I'll deal with Zemus later, because for the most part, as long as you have high enough health on Rosa, Cecil, you're fine. He'll chop, she'll heal.
Yeah, you had incredible RNG. I think 3 Odins, 1 Grimoire summon based. That
Yeah.
had all 3 for 3 perfect RNG Odin shots. I am
Forgot
very
about the
jealous.
Grimoire one. Where was that one even at? Oh, it was in the Eblon Castle, right? The Black Cats in the Lamia. That's good.
Yeah, good times for head. So, any questions from you, Vatasia?
I mean, you hit the highlights. I think the big thing was the Odin swag through all of it. We were just amazed at not just I mean, first the Grimoire Odin, but then hard casting Odin for the other bosses and just it landing every time. We were like, what, really?
I feel like there was another time I did Odin early on too. Dark Imps. Hit him with Dark Imps too. That's what it was. He was like, do I have enough MP to cast Odin? I do, Odin.
Yeah.
And it just worked. It just worked.
Yes, that's why you keep Rydia alive. You can't Odin people without Rydia.
Yeah, that's certainly a thing. So I think it was pointed out in chat, and it in a sense kind of like aspect, but I think you had realized putting 2 Merzames on Edge to get Edge to, I think, Agility 28 and I think RA2 for the Z fight. That was, I assume that was the thing before the Z fight, right?
So what it was is I was checking the agilities, didn't see anyone at 28, didn't really like register what his was, but then realized, oh hey, I never put on his other sword. Let me do that real quick. Wait, what does that put his agility at now? And I saw 28. I'm like, perfect. This works.
Right.
So it was like a happy little accident where I'm like, all right, I need to put his other sword on real quick. Way that changes his agility. It makes it perfect.
Yeah. I saw saying that, and you were the only one also who did Forge and picked, essentially didn't kind of go away Forge section under empty-handed. You picked up the Merzame before leaving. It was like that was the only thing you got, and apparently it just worked out for you.
Yeah, like I said, I forgot to put it on, but yeah, it definitely worked out for the end. So I'll take it. I just love how the seed wanted us to use Edward, and we just said no. I wasn't about to take the spoon in Edward. No, that's too much effort. He's too
Right.
squishy.
Right. Yeah. Also, I guess it's worth the question. There was no thought of putting Edward. I mean, obviously the Forge probably a joke given the seed, but you got a spoon early, so apparently, so you had no consideration for Edward at all.
Not really, because I mean, when you have the team you have, the person I probably could have switched him out for was Rydia, but Rydia I feel like would have put in more work no matter what, because as we all saw, she helped me clear a lot of these bosses really quickly. So I don't think he would have helped more than anyone else. Maybe Kane a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, I think maybe I assume the Dragoon Spear maybe pushed you keeping Kane, because I think it was
Yeah.
Any other questions, Vitasia? For Locke?
No, I mean just GG's. It was a very very close race, back and forth, kind of throughout the entire thing. We'll see you over in the waning side of Blue Moon. So join the party. We have cookies.
Be a fun time. We don't race next week, right? It's a bit of a break considering how far we are.
I
Or
think
where
you
we
have
at in
like
that?
you'll have like 2 weeks breaks. So because yeah, I think we have at least a couple weeks to go.
Okay. Perfect. That gives me time to move and do all that stuff.
So yeah, GG's again, Locke, for that race. That was very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, thanks again for the restream. Thanks again for putting it up. I appreciate it. I'll have to watch it back later and see where I lost a bit of this time.
Awesome. GG's once again. Everyone, that was Gambit017 and Locke putting on one heck of a show for us. Be sure to give them all the love over here on Twitch. Also, final shout outs to all of our team behind the scenes, Commander Leonhardt for the tracking, X Pancraz for the restream. Deathlike, it's always a pleasure working with you on the commentary booth as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, Vitasia. Hope to do it again sometime. And for now, we're going to move everyone to Dr. Kozak after this, and also some more new races for tomorrow. Free Enterprise race tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Don't have a list, but that'll definitely be starting tomorrow off well.
Yeah, looks like our 6 o'clock Eastern race tomorrow is going to be Coffee and Chocobos versus Klopfer. So, and that'll be over on the Free Enterprise Prime channel. So be sure to go check those out. And to follow Free Enterprise 2, Free Enterprise 3 for all of your Free Enterprise races. Also, shout out to our partner RPG Limit Break as well. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at the next race. Have a great night.
Next seed.